12:03 on a Monday, on a game day. It is the Edmonton Oilers and the Los Angeles Kings. Tonight, you are listening or watching the Oil Stream right now, brought to you by Boston Pizza, where every single day in January is Pasta Tuesday at Boston Pizza. Tommy and I will be at the Westmount Boston Pizza on Friday for Oil Stream at lunch. I'll be there for Lock Shop as well, so if you want to make some plans to join us, Westmount BP's Friday. Be there or be square. Am I right? Hey, Tommy? Oh, God, I always make funny be there, be square jokes. Is Tommy muted? Is that on our end or is that on Tommy's end?
All the time. That's on my end.
There we go.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Hello,
yes, Dusty, you always come in with the be there, be square. I'll be honest with you. I think that was the first time I've ever heard you use it, but well done. And
I used it today.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that. But
yeah.
Shout out to Tony and Curtis and the crew.
How was
Jess
it?
over at BP Westgate. Fantastic as always. We're there on Thursday. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then Friday at Westmount BP, Pasta Tuesday, I will be definitely diving into that. I did not get pasta on Saturday. I ended up going with a Philly dipper, which is also great. But, you know, if you're in the mood for some pasta.
And there's a lot of buzz for that Philly dipper.
It is excellent. It was so good. Also, I want to start the week off on a positive. I want to send a big shout out to one of our sponsors on Hello Hockey, Tyson and Scott over at Nexar Equipment for fixing my car.
Oh, they did, eh?
And they gave me a loaner for the weekend. I was driving around a GMC Terrain. Not bad.
That's a good look to the future when you have kids and a wife.
Yeah, well, don't put a timeline on that. So, but anyway, I went in. I thought I needed an alignment last week just to make a short story even shorter. Went to a shop close by to my place. Figured I'd come out of there maybe paying $150, $200 at most. They tell me I need $2,300 worth of work. I say, get my car out of that shop because that sounds ridiculous. Take it over to Tyson and Scott over at Nexar. It is in Nisku, but Dusty, I got out of there $500, and that baby, it's like riding on rails again. Like I brought it home brand new back in 2012, I think it was when I.
You know, if you can't trust a mechanic that you don't know, who can you trust, right, Tommy?
That's right. That's right. So I just want to give them a little love and a shout out. So if you need your vehicle fixed and you don't want to get hosed, go see the boys at Nexar Equipment in Nisku.
This is why you always should know a mechanic. You know, it's always nice to know that one guy. You know who that guy is for me?
Who?
The Godfather, T-Roy. The Godfather. He comes by on Beer of the Week and hangs out for 2 hours and then goes home. He's a mechanic, so he's helped me out of some tough spots in the past. Or at least he has the knowledge to make sure I don't get screwed over by somebody either, right? So yeah.
And like, listen, man, I'm not a huge savvy car guy, but you know, you learn enough from your uncle who's a mechanic, and then your dad did a lot of do-it-yourself fixing, and you learn how to change things in your vehicle, brakes and oil, and you work in a tire shop for a few years, and you kind of recognize when you're getting bullshitted.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't think that you're right. And I had to call BS on the place that I took my vehicle to, and sure enough, I was right. How about that?
Tommy, when you worked in the tire shop, did people refer to you as a grease monkey?
No, because I was never really that dirty.
Oh, okay. All right. I remember hearing that quite a bit. Loomis over in the Nasty Chat on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, hammer a thumbs up for the Will Stream here today, brought to you by Boston Pizza. He says, hey, guys, what's a clearer timeline? Kane's return or Gazzola settling down? Not what happens first, but which timeline do you think is clearer?
Kane will come back.
Kane will come back, but I think your timeline's clear. Like, I have no idea what Kane's timeline is. Eventually, something will have to happen, and you'll have to settle down, I would think. Yeah,
I think so. I mean, I wouldn't mind it, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
All right, Tommy, you were at the rink today. Anything particular note here as the two teams, Oilers and Kings, get set to clash tonight?
I think the big one is the Oilers are going 11-7 tonight. Derek Ryan and Jeff Skinner were on the ice really late, and Chris Knobloch confirmed that they're going 11-7. So, and it was weird because I was doing an interview. I was doing an interview with Matthias Ekholm, the one-on-one is available on the Nasty Club.
It's available
exclusive.
for Nasty Club members. Yep.
Yeah, and I sat in Josh Brown's stall, and I said to Matthias, I'm like, I think I'm good here, right? Because he was on the ice, and I figured he'd be skating for a while longer, probably not playing. And he goes, I don't know. Maybe he is playing. And I was like, shut up, man. Like, I don't think he's playing. Like, in your head, you're like, no, you're messing with me. And he was like, well, we'll see. And sure enough, he comes out from the rink, and he sits in his stall. I'm like, oh, I got to get out of the way here. So I move over, and I was like, that's weird. And then Knobloch confirmed that they're going 11-7. So that's an interesting one for me. Maybe a little bit more toughness because, the two smallest guys on the team, and Jeff Skinner and Derek Ryan, are the likely guys to be out because they were on the ice for an extended period of time for the morning skate, and that is the indicator that they're not playing tonight. So we'll see.
Man, 11-7 to keep Josh Brown in the lineup is quite the drug. Like that's quite the from oh wow, they're doing it. You can inject that into my veins. 780, not because like I'm fully supporting it. It just kind of blows my mind a little bit. Now, with that being said, you're probably not gonna how much do you think he'll play tonight? Even if I thought, is he there just in case things get extremely physical? What was your number? What'd you say? 8 minutes?
8 minutes. Yeah, 8 minutes max.
Max. I would take the under on the 8 minutes.
Yeah, I
think tonight.
I thought that was interesting. And Skinner starts, by the way. Stu Skinner starts. No surprise there. And they'll want to tighten things up, obviously, defensively, especially in that first period, because their Hawks first period and Penguins first period weren't particularly sharp. Although, the only thing I'll give away that Ekholm told me that kind of surprised me was he only thought that the Pittsburgh first period wasn't particularly good.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, more on that. How long is that chat with Ekholm?
It's 3.5, 4 minutes, I think.
Perfect. All right. If you are a Nasty Club member, you'll be able to find that one-on-one Tommy and Ekholm over inside the Nasty Club today. If you want more information on the Nasty Club, just go to EdmontonSportsTalk.com and click on Nasty Club. Statue Boss Productions is, let's discuss this a little bit, this 11-7 setup. We've not seen the 11-7 very often this year. How many times has it happened? Is this the first?
Once.
Yeah, one other time, I think.
Maybe one other time.
And I think, was that due to injuries or was that just because as well? And that was in the Dermott
I'm trying
days.
to remember.
I'm trying to think. They would have.
I know it
been
happened.
With Dermott.
Yeah. They did it once, and it was ho-hum.
Okay, so this is the question here. Statue Boss Production says, guys, is this Knobloch saying to Stan, get Jeff Skinner out of here? I'm willing to play Josh freaking Brown over him. And then KB says, so 8 minutes of Josh Brown is better than 9 minutes of Jeff Skinner. And, Tommy, you can say, we don't want to read into this too much, but that's what they're doing tonight in a huge game against a division rival, a team that they might play in the playoffs again. If you're going to read into many games, this is one of the games that you should read into.
That's a good point. This is a huge game. Yeah, and the Oilers, they played the Kings well the game 2 weeks ago, but, there were some blips on the radar there, the blown lead, and I don't know, maybe they're just experimenting with something, trying to get a little more grit and sandpaper in there. I was a little bit surprised to see Skinner not play the other night. Derek Ryan had that giveaway, I think, in the second period. He had a tough shift, and I think we only saw him a couple times after that in the third period.
Look, Derek Ryan looks like less of an NHL player right now than Jeff Skinner does.
Yeah,
undoubtedly.
Derek Ryan's sort of fading, right? Like, he's 38 years old.
Which is understandable. Like, nobody's going to blame him. He's not 31. You're like, get your act together, man. This is a guy who's hanging on right now, essentially.
But Jeff Skinner is like early 30s and should get his act together and has had his struggles this year. Although I thought he had been playing okay in his last few games. And I don't know if it's Chris Knobloch telling his GM, get this guy out of here. Again, the no movement clause, getting Jeff Skinner into the situation where he wants out of Edmonton and is willing to waive his no movement clause. I don't know if it's there yet, but I would be, if I was in his shoes, extremely frustrated with how things have gone and continue to go. But I don't know if they're like playing these games just yet. Maybe, but I look at tonight's lineup deployment, if you will, as Edmonton trying to be bigger, tougher, and meaner against a big, tough, and mean LA Kings front 6 and 9, even you could say.
780-218-9999. If you're listening on TuneIn or iHeart or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, you want to chime in on this decision as they take on the Los Angeles Kings tonight. Jeff Skinner and Derek Ryan appear to be out. Looks like they'll be going 11-7 with Josh Brown as the 7th D-man on the back end. Your thoughts on this and how much we should read into it in one of the biggest games, I'd say the biggest game of the regular season so far for the Edmonton Oilers. 780-218-9999. Big Uke is asking, is there any chance Jeff Skinner is banged up, or is this just the biggest doghouse ever?
That's actually a good point by Big Uke, and I kind of wondered that when Skinner didn't play against Chicago. Maybe he is a little bit nicked up.
But he was out late today?
Yeah, he was out late, but I thought his game was like half decent and better certainly than prior months or prior games and weeks. To the point where it's like, okay, well, he's kind of feeling it. He's doing all right. He's scoring some goals every now and then. I thought they were in a situation where they were okay with his game, but evidently not, or maybe he is a little bit nicked up and they're giving him some time to rest and heal up. But I ultimately, if he's not like a little bit banged up and they're just sitting him and they don't feel he's a good fit and they're playing Josh Brown and going 11-7, to me, it's just like, They want some sheer size and meat and muscle in the lineup. But maybe there is something to him being a little bit nicked up, but I haven't heard anything because I don't think anybody's really thought much of it.
La Bamba guy over the Nasty Chat says, guys, I'm trying to listen, but there's too much fun happening at the EST headquarters. How much did that pick up? Okay, I'm surprised that would come through my mic. I wonder if that
loud and clear.
I wonder if that's just coming through my mic. That's quite something. But yeah, Hernan. Well, Yukon Jack came by today, and he used to be in our. He was one of our 4 guys in our Tecmo league.
Oh, so
he's been here for like an hour and a half playing Tecmo. So
I like that.
Everybody's fired up over there right now. But I just did have one of the guys close the doors, so that should probably dial it down a little bit. Let's see here, Ethan.
Dusty.
Yeah.
Really quickly,
yeah, buddy.
Skinner prior to the Pittsburgh game, where he only played 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Had a 3-game point streak. Like that's why I thought his game was kind of
and he did that in the bottom 6. Right? Yeah. Like it's not like he got a bump on power play time or he got bumped up. I don't know if it has changed since, but last week when we were talking about it, he was 5th on the team in goals. And yeah. Like for example, Ethan Marner over in the Nasty Chat says, guys, the player with the biggest what the F giveaway on the road trip was Kapanen, and he didn't sit for a game. So, true. I mean, you've got a waiver claim that remains in the lineup. He's had some flashes, but I don't think I watch him every single night and go, man, he's got to be here for the whole season. Like, I don't necessarily know I'm there just yet. And you've got a guy that you brought in as a free agent that just can't seem to work his way back into Knobloch's good books so far. Yeah. So, like, the only top 6 chance I think he gets again this season is due to an injury. That's it. I mean, they're playing so well, and the guys who are up there are playing very well. I don't see not all of them playing very well, but they're winning hockey games as a team. I just don't see another route for him to get back in there. The Los Angeles Kings so far this season, 53 points, 24-11-5. Edmonton's 26-13-3. They are 2 points up on them. The Kings have a couple of games in hand. It is a huge game tonight. The Oilers power play 24.8%. The Kings power play 15%. The Kings penalty kill about 5 percentage points better, 81.8%. The Oilers penalty kill 76.8%. Tom, we had an interesting discussion this morning. I ranked the top 5 threats in the West to the Oilers, and I had the Los Angeles Kings at 5th, and they're on a bit of a collision course here for another matchup. This time again in the first round, with Vegas being as good as they are. Now, I'm not saying there's no chance that the Oilers or the Kings maybe could track the Golden Knights down, but you need Vegas to slow down a little bit. And there was a lot of people saying, you know what? I'm a little bit more worried about the Kings than the Golden Knights. They said, how difficult it's going to be to beat a team 4 years in a row in the playoffs. And then we had Rashog on this morning, and Rashog basically laid out he thinks that if they do meet in the playoffs this year, this will be the best Kings team of the 4 teams that they would have faced. So how much of a threat do you think the team we're going to see tonight is to the Oilers' push to get back to a Stanley Cup final again?
A decent one. I'm not as
Vegas or Los Angeles in toughest roadblock. Yeah, Vegas.
Absolutely. Vegas is a better team.
I said Vegas too. I had Vegas at number 1 on the list. Yeah.
Vegas is the best team in the NHL with Winnipeg. And I think there's another, I think Washington's still up there right now. Yeah. The Golden Knights are a deeper, better team and more experienced team than the LA Kings. They, to me, are the number 1 threat to the Oilers going back to the Cup final. Winnipeg has to be up there. Minnesota always is a thorn in Edmonton's side. Dallas, and then Vegas.
Yeah, I went Vegas, Dallas, Winnipeg, Colorado, and then the Kings. And then I gave Minnesota a little honorable mention, a little tap on the pads.
Yeah, I would not put Colorado in there because they have a lack of depth at forward. And I think they're not the same Avs team. I feel like they've kind of faded a little bit. And that's too bad because, I mean, their best guys are in there.
Top-end guys are still top-end guys, right?
Yeah. Yeah. This year, I would say that the Avs are not in the top 5 threats to the Oilers. And, hey, if they get to the postseason and face each other and Edmonton loses to Colorado, I will eat my words. I get that. But Vegas, number 1, Winnipeg 2, Dallas 3, Minnesota 4, LA 5. Because Edmonton, in theory, Edmonton should be deeper. Edmonton should be bolstering its lineup come the deadline. Evander Kane, I personally don't think that he's going to play in the regular season. Who knows what he's like in the playoffs if he's good to go by then. I know the Kings are going to get Doughty back, but Kemper, I know Kemper has won a cup, which is
he's having a great year this year,
he's
too,
having
man.
An excellent season.
Holy smokes.
I respect the LA Kings more than I did the past couple of seasons, but I still think Edmonton gets by them. Like, it almost seems like a Winnipeg Jets of the 80s, early 90s, where it didn't matter how good or what Winnipeg did. Edmonton always got by them and early on in playoff rounds and runs up to the Stanley Cup. And I know Calgary, and I think it was Bob Johnston would legitimately build his team to try to beat the Oilers, and it was always the Oilers beating the Flames, except for 86. I think that the Kings are kind of like the Winnipeg Jets of yesteryear. That's how I look at them. But I will give them credit because they got away from that 1-3-1. They have more offensive weapons. A guy like Byfield is developing well. Moore, I think, is really put himself on the map when it comes to respecting him as a middle 6 forward, a guy that maybe flies under the radar and doesn't get the same love and appreciation like a Kopitar would, and understandably so. Deneau's in his prime. There's a lot of good stuff that the Kings have, but I still think Edmonton gets by them.
780-218-9999. Darren Johnston over on YouTube. And, of course, you can text us. That's where you can text us, 780-218-9999. If you're watching on YouTube today, you can hammer the thumbs up for us. That'd be great. Sub to the channel if you haven't already. Darren says, guys, if the Oilers make some good moves at the trade deadline, could you not technically say LA could be playing the best Oilers team in the past 4 years?
Good point.
I think with the right addition at the deadline, buddy, I think that's a valid point that he's making.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly because this is not the finished Oilers product that we're going to see in the stretch and in the final few weeks of the season. They're fully on board with bolstering the defense and making a couple of tweaks here and there. I think it's becoming abundantly clear that they're probably going to need a bottom 6 forward, maybe a 4th line center again, a Sam Carrick type, because right now I don't think you can thrust Noah Philp into a Stanley Cup run and just be like, okay, go be excellent and take on some of the best players in the world playing playoff hockey. I think that's a huge ask for a guy like that. I don't think it's as simple as that. So I think they'll probably want to bring in an extra forward.
Keep those comments coming in as we continue to get you set for the Edmonton Oilers and the Los Angeles Kings There was another one that I thought was, Loomis. This is a good point too. Guys, I would argue that the depth at forward here in Edmonton isn't as deep as people think. That's an interesting one. What do you think? You talked to some guys around the league, Tommy. How do you think people outside of this market view the Oilers' bottom six?
They look at the Oilers as a Stanley Cup contender. They look at the Oilers as the best team in the West, even though right now they're not. Every time you talk to visiting media, they're just like, this is the Oilers. This is a team that's probably going to go back to the Cup final. This is a team that has a lot of depth. They have Corey Perry on the fourth line, and he's playing well. I think we, and I'll include us in this market, pick this team apart to the point where we forget that it's really good. We watch them on a daily basis. We're at practices, obviously, and it's like the kid that's expected to go first overall, not in the upcoming draft, but the year after, that you've seen all the good and you've been wowed and dazzled, that now all you focus on is the negative. I think that's what we do with the Oilers, and us included, EST, other media. So visiting media, out-of-town media, look at the Oilers and go, that's a Stanley Cup contending team. And then you go, well, they have this problem, that problem, that problem, and they need to shore this up, that up, that up. And people will just be like, okay, well, when they do, they're going to be just where they were, exact same spot they were last year, contending for a cup in a conference final. That's the consensus. That's the general remark that we get from visiting media.
What one word would you use to describe the Oilers' bottom six?
Respectable.
Yeah, I was going to say competent.
Sure.
I mean, I don't think it's a great bottom six. I think at times it has the potential to be a good bottom six, though. I
think it is a good bottom six.
I mean, Vegas is like, I'm just looking at teams that they'll have to compete with.
Okay.
And I don't know. I think a team like Dallas is like, they don't have McDavid and Draisaitl, but I think they have a deeper forward group.
They have a very good forward group.
Winnipeg has Nino Niederreiter and Cole Perfetti on their third line.
Okay. Those are good, really good NHL players.
Those are really good. So I think there are better third lines among contenders in the West. But does it matter when you have McDavid and Draisaitl, who are going to play so much more and be so much better than some of the other top end guys that you're going to play against Dallas and against Vegas and things along those lines, right?
I think some of that helps, but I think we're also short selling the Oilers' third line.
Not from a production perspective.
Well, hang on. The production this year hasn't been great. If we're looking at strictly offense, there's a lot to be desired there. But in terms of quality of player, because guys can have tough starts to seasons and pick it up in the playoffs. That guys can have slow burns to start the year and get strong down the stretch. I think we forget that. I think we're so micro-focused that Adam Henrique is a 50-point player most seasons. He's not having a good offensive year this year. He's been better lately, but that's a good third-line player. Connor Brown, Connor Brown is having a decent year. That's a good third-line player. Matthias Janmark, if he's playing on the left side, on the third line, or if he's playing center on the fourth line, whatever they have him at. But when they have him on the third line, that's a decent third, fourth line player and has been for a long time in the league. And then the fourth line, sure, you got Corey Perry, you got Kapanen. Kapanen's playing well. Perry's having a surprisingly good, consistent season. And then you look at the deficiency on the fourth line and you go, well, it's center. Okay, well, now you need to shore that up. That's why that's something that's going to need to be addressed probably at the deadline. But I think we're being overly critical here.
Well, just for accuracy, season. Adam Henrique's only had 50 points twice in his entire career. He's usually a 40
to 50. Yeah,
What's
okay,
that?
and that's a good
he's
third line
he's
player.
got a lot of 42s and 40s and 43s.
On your third line, is that not really good?
Yeah, well, it is, but he's on pace for 26 points this year.
He's not having a good offensive year.
But that's the thing is that when he's put up his 40 to 50 points, he's been a top six guy. I mean, it's pretty much where he's been in most of his other spots. Right? Now he's the third line center here, so this is probably what we should expect from him from third line center production because he's no sniff of power play, that type of thing, right? It's different than where he would have been in some other markets. So
I think he should be able to provide more. I think 40 points is reasonable for Adam Henry this year. I mean, this year he's gotten off to such a slow start that it might not happen, but I think he should be able to achieve 40 points as a third line center.
I think he can get to 30 points this year. You'll probably be pretty happy with it after the start, right? Like that would mean 17 points in the rest of the season. He had 13 points with a horrible start. So 17 should definitely be something that he would be capable of.
Yeah.
I think. 780-218-9999. Fogel's back. And he's fourth on the Kings in scoring. Now they are a team that don't score a ton, Tommy. So let's just sort that out. It's not like he's got 37 points right now or something for the what's going on here?
For the Kings.
Sorry, I need to plug in my computer, Tommy. Anyway, here we go.
That's okay.
Yeah, so Fogel, if you're the Kings, you got to be pretty pleased with what you've got from him so far.
Yep, he's fit in well. I think LA is very much his style. I know he got a decent contract too that the Oilers weren't going to give him. I'm just going to Puckpedia really quickly to remind myself. $3.5 million. He was making $2.75, I think, here in Edmonton, and they gave him 3 years. So he got his payday. He cashed in after his best offensive season. What did he have? 41 points, 20 and 21, I think it was, if I remember correctly. And this is Fogel in his prime, and he earned all of that. And so he's I think you and Shoggy on the mandate were talking about what he's projected to get. It's another like 45 to 47 points.
Yeah, close to what he had sort of last year.
That's great. And yeah, he's been a good fit. And would he be good here in Edmonton? Yeah, but they didn't want to give him that extra $750,000 a year.
Now you look back on it, a healthy scratch, Jeff Skinner and Josh Brown or Warren Fogle just grinded up and down the wing. You know what I mean?
I know, but you're right. But that's like bringing up Holloway or McLeod right now. It's like, guys, remember how everyone got excited about Jeff Skinner and Victor Arvidsson? Unfortunately, it has not gone well for those two, and it's left a lot to be desired. And you look at what other guys are doing, especially Dylan Holloway, absolutely Warren Fogle. But Dusty, I'll remind people that there were nights where people were texting in post-game saying, get Fogle out of here when Fogle leaves this, when Fogle leaves that, take your money, go. Fogle was a guy that was getting healthy scratched in the playoffs, and people were looking at Ryan McLeod going, way too soft. Why is he out there?
Yeah, I haven't heard many people talk about McLeod, though, just in fairness. Now, that, to be honest with you, outside of today, not many people talked about Fogle either.
Yeah, and most of it's been, Holloway and Broberg. And again, we have ad nauseum discussed how that was poor.
There's no other way to look at that.
An asset. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We acknowledge, we agree. You can't go back in time. But I will remind some people that there were a lot of nights where we would get comments on the post-game show saying, I can't wait till Fogel's gone. I can't wait till they should get rid of McLeod. There was a lot of that. And to just forget it, I think would be silly right now.
780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. Nash Osborne over in the Nasty Chat says, I didn't appreciate Fogle.
Thank you, Nash Osborne.
Yeah. There you go. All right, so Warren Fogle having a decent season with the Los Angeles Kings. You get a look at that tonight. Let's dive into your spicy headlines here for Popeyes. We asked this question a little bit earlier on, and of course, if you're looking for a bite to eat today or something to watch a game tonight, if you're going to be staying at home to watch a game, obviously you can find them on Skip the Dishes as well. Get yourself one of those delicious Popeyes chicken sandwiches. You will not be disappointed. We were asked this morning on 3 Questions Too Many. I wanted to throw it into the headlines. Also, shout out Connor McDavid, 28th birthday for Connor McDavid. If you're wondering if you feel old, Connor McDavid is now 28. Connor McDavid is almost a 30-year-old. He's 2 years away from being 30, for goodness sakes. The only players with more points than him by the time they reached the age of 28, Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux, actually tied with Steve Yzerman. And Tommy, I got to say, he's kind of on a Steve Yzerman path here. Took Stevie Y a while to win his first one as well, and that's kind of where That's where Connor's trending right now, I would think.
Stevie Y still won 3.
Yeah, well, he got 3 done. How old was Yzerman when he won his first one? I'm wondering
that would
about
have been
that.
97, and he was drafted in 86.
Yeah, he's a 65. So he was 32 years old when he won his first cup and brought home 3 more after that. And his best offensive years were way behind him, but he was still pretty damn good. Still a point per game guy.
He won 97, 98, and 02, right?
Yeah, he won 96, 97, 97, 98, and then 01, 02.
Yeah, so he won 3 cups. 32 years old was his first one. But like Ovechkin didn't win till he was in his
those are the 2 guys that you look at. Those are the ones that took.
Yeah.
How old was Stamkos when Tampa finally won?
Because he was drafted in 08. They won in 20, so 12
he would have been
years.
right around Connor's age now.
Yeah. It's, man.
Actually, Steven Stamkos' buddy was 30 when they won their first cup, too.
Yeah.
And they went back to back.
Now Connor's been to the dance, took him to Game 7. He's been to a conference final. The time is now. And I think what you bring up with those guys being older is if you have respectable management that is adequate in handling their assets appropriately, you can prolong the window and you can win into your 30s. And I mean, now is prime time, obviously, but I think that's a good reminder that guys can win when they're a little bit older. And Ovechkin and Stamkos are good examples of that. Yzerman too. This
was the question. I kind of got sidetracked there on McDavid's birthday, but this was the question we were asked earlier today. Would you guys trade Matt Savoy if it meant that you were getting back like an Ekholm 2.0 on the right side?
100%.
That comes with term beyond next year, like this year, next year, and another year after that.
Yep.
So there's no, like I said this morning, there's no untouchable pieces. Like you're in a cup window. There's no untouchable future pieces that I would not move.
Do you want to win the trophy that everybody's trying to win at the start of the year, or do you want to not sacrifice something just so that you have a decent player, so you're not a bad team in a couple of years? Like, you know what I mean? Like, hell yeah, I'd trade him. No offense to Matt Savoy, but I would flip that in an instant, and just to get the win this year or next year. This
is what we said this morning. It's like, well, what would you say to somebody if they're like, you can trade Fogle for McLeod for Ekholm 2.0? Because that's essentially what you would be doing here. You'd be flipping the asset you got for Ryan McLeod and turning it into a right shot D-man. I mean, nobody would have hesitated to that at all. And I know Savoy's, impressing some people with his 2-way game in the American League, but whether it's Savoy or whether it's these first round picks, and I know people this morning were like, yeah, but what about in 3-4 years? I get it, but you're not worrying about 4 or 5 years from now. You're worrying about right now. You're worrying about, continuing to be a Stanley Cup contender and keeping Connor McDavid around, and you go to the finals or you take a run at the finals as many times as you possibly can, regardless of what it costs for the future. I mean, that's how it has to be right now, I think, for this team.
It does. And it reemphasizes that your scouting departments and your player development department need to be on top of their game starting yesterday. This is a crucial time. I said it in the offseason. If you want to A, extend the window, B, make sure you don't have a huge dip when McDavid and Draisaitl are old and go through what Pittsburgh has been. And I was going to say Washington, but they have bounced back brilliantly with some very, very sharp moves. But you don't want to you don't want to go through what Chicago's going through. Like, you need to start mining for gold and really hustling on the scouting department side. And then you need those players to develop. So that's where those 2 or 3 areas of the organization are going to need to be way better than they have been in the past.
The Obama guy lays it out perfectly. You know what will help with the down days in 7 to 10 years? 3 Stanley Cups to catch the tears from everybody. I'm just like, yes, exactly. Like, it's going to suck if they don't deliver a title and then they're very thin 10 years from now. But you are planning on having Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl for close to another decade. Hey, it's okay if they trade the 2026 first. I'm just saying right now.
If they win 1, 2, potentially 3 Stanley Cups. And then when these guys, McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, everybody's, time to retire and move on, I would be pleasantly surprised and appreciate if Oil Country had the same mentality in general as La Bamba guy when they're, maybe missing the playoffs twice in a 4-year stretch, and you can see some glimmer of hope from them recovering after the McDavid Draisaitl era. If people have that La Bamba guy mentality where they go, yeah, it's tough. They're not as good as they once were. McDavid's gone. Draisaitl's gone. But we've got those Stanley Cups. If people can keep it together for a couple of lean years when those thoroughbreds are done, I will be so pleasantly surprised, and our station will appreciate it so much because me, Hernan, Cass, you, Eric, everybody, probably even Trev, who lives and dies with this team, would be like, thank you, Oil Country, for not giving us more gray hair at that point in our lives.
780-218-9999. Lots of text messages that we can get to as well. If you are listening on TuneIn or iHeart or at edmontonsportstalk.com, that's where you can get us. You can text us over there. Somebody did text in and say, hey, guys, what about Philp as a guy that you wouldn't want to move? I'll take this one. I don't know how many people were trading for Noah Philp. I mean, he's 26 years old. Yeah. He hasn't, become a regular NHLer yet. He's going to get, but I'm telling you, somebody's not calling up. You're not calling somebody and being like, hey, man, I want that top 4 D-man you're moving. They're not going, okay, but it's going to cost you Philp. And with all regard, he played at the Bears while I called him. Great player, but let's pump the brakes a little bit on Philp not being movable prior to the deadline, because he is, but it's because nobody probably wants to grab him from you.
Yeah, and I saw Bones text in earlier too, said, why not Philp for the 4th line center? We could see him.
That's a better question.
Yeah, he doesn't have the experience, and I think it would be a huge ask to go, okay, Noah, good job in the AHL, good job coming back from missing a year of hockey. Now we need you to defend and kill penalties, and you're doing it in the 3rd round of the playoffs against the Winnipeg Jets. I think that's a huge ask for a guy that, despite being 26 and probably more mature than a lot of people and playing well, that's a tough one to put on a guy who's never done it compared to a guy that maybe has been in the NHL for 5, 8, 10 years and is okay in a regular shift and scenario like that you might be able to snag at the deadline.
All right, that is your spicy headlines for Popeyes. You go to Popeyes, you get the drink, but more importantly, you get the sides. And we absolutely love the sides at Popeyes. Tommy's a big mac and cheese guy, and I love my Cajun fries. And you know what? One of the more underrated poutines in the business as well, available at Popeyes. That Cajun poutine from Popeyes.
Delicious.
Very nice. Really like that one. Let's dive into keep it or clip it for Tommy Guns at Tommy Guns Original Barbershop. They believe a great haircut is more than just a quick in and out. It's about the whole experience, and that's why they follow the code. A commitment to deliver the best barbershop experience every single time you visit. From check-in to the finishing touch, every step is crafted with care. No appointments needed. Just walk in, relax, and they will take it from there. All right, Tommy, here we go. This is an interesting one. I'm not necessarily saying that they miss drastically either of these guys because they still have a very good hockey team, but the Oilers miss Fogle more than they miss Holloway. Keep it or clip it for Tommy Guns.
Oh,
I know who you would want long-term, right? You'd want Holloway, but I think it's an interesting question with the way this team is currently constructed.
Oh, that's a great one. I still clip it though. I'll still clip it. Because I think Holloway, I don't know if Holloway would have taken a step with the Oilers.
He could have done some things that Fogle did, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think Holloway, if he stays, you don't have a Podkolzin. And if Holloway is on that second line, taking advantage of the opportunity, digging for pucks, retrieving them the way Draisaitl likes and getting him the puck the way Podkolzin does, I think it's a pretty simple formula, too. I think Holloway's smart enough to have figured it out. I honestly think that he would be having a pretty strong year, and I think his high-end ability far surpasses Podkolzin's. So I think he'd be having a pretty strong season on that line with Leon. So I'll clip it. They don't miss Fogle more than they miss Holloway, because I think Holloway was on a big up and up trend regardless. But Fogle would have been a nice piece to have. Probably third, fourth line. But 3.5 mil per year is something that I don't think would sit too well with a lot of people for someone that is a third, fourth liner. And then I think we'd hear when he wasn't playing well, this is why they sat him in the playoffs. This is why he couldn't play in the Cup final. Those types of things pop up. But
I mean, we're going to have the same conversations with Skinner. He's a $3 million guy scratched for this big game tonight, right? Like,
absolutely.
There's people texting in right now being like, they should play Skinner with McDavid instead of Nuge. Like, there's still that conversation around. Like, there's still people that want to see more of Skinner. Before completely saying that it's a non-factor here. This is a bit of a stretch, but I think there's a conversation around it. Drew Doughty is still a top 15 defenseman in the National Hockey League when healthy.
Oh, I'll keep that one.
You're going to keep it?
I'm going to keep that one. He's kind of evolved. You hear the Kings people talking about how his game has evolved, and he's still a pillar on the back end. Maybe he doesn't have the offense that he once did, but he's very effective in his own zone. Great first pass. Maybe he's not as quick as he used to be. So, yeah, I'll keep it. But he's probably closer to 15 than anything, right? Like, he's probably just in that mix, 12 to 15, somewhere around there.
The way I was picturing this is, in a playoff series, are there 15 defensemen around the league you would take in a best of 7 ahead of Drew Doughty?
I would take.
And I'm not I don't think it's a clear cut yes, for sure. There's some defensemen that I think through a regular season would be viewed as better than Drew Doughty. But in a winner take all best of 7, I'm not sure there's 15 D-man in the league I'm taking ahead of Drew Doughty still.
Yeah, I would take Makar. I would take Pietrangelo. I would take Shea Theodore. I would take probably Charlie McAvoy.
Hedman,
absolutely.
There is a bunch, but I think the veteran presence of Doughty would still. I don't know. I think it's a good question. I think the number was relatively.
I would take Ekholm. I value him quite a bit.
Penner's Pancake says he's still top 15, I think. And the guy, Urban Daddy, says he thinks he's still top 15. LOL.
He probably does. And you know what? It's good to have swag and confidence. And he's got a lot of it for good reason.
All right, here let's go here next. It is vital to the Oilers' Cup chances to finish first in the Pacific.
I'll keep that.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'll keep that. I think that would be a huge advantage for them if they manage to catch Vegas and lock down their first division
let
titles,
Vegas take on the Kings in the first round?
Yeah, I think that would be absolutely vital. Do I think it's necessary, though? No. But would it be vital? 100%. I would keep that. And I think that they still want to win the division, and it's going to come down to those last couple games against the Golden Knights. It's going to come down to not pissing away games like they did. Pittsburgh, you could lump in there, but Pittsburgh's a little bit more respectable than like the loss to Anaheim or the loss to Chicago in the third game of the season, and Montreal, and Columbus. But yeah, I think it would be vital.
Well, here's the thing:
but not be all end all.
If the playoffs started today, and the Oilers were where Vegas is, their first round matchup would be Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, Cale Makar, and the Colorado Avalanche.
There's no easy path in the West, really.
No. I mean, the Jets would start with the Canucks, and I like their chances against Vancouver. I mean, but the other 7 teams, it's not going to be easy, regardless of who you are.
This is going to be a very stress-inducing postseason. It really will be, and you need luck, you need health, you need guys to be on top of their game, and nothing's a given. I like Edmonton's chances. I like the way that they seem to have picked up this winner's mentality. I was going to say championship caliber mentality, but they haven't done it yet. But there is an understanding, and we're starting to see on some nights, not all, because they've had some poor performances in the last couple of weeks. But but they seem to be rounding into form, if you will, and they finally have shown us, I think, that they know what it takes, and so it's up to them to kind of prove it again.
Darcy Kemper is the biggest advantage the Kings would have over the Oilers in the playoffs. Keep your clip.
Clip that. He's having a fantastic season, but Darcy Kemper has been a good goalie in the NHL for a long time who's won a Stanley Cup. But if Darcy Kemper signed with the Seattle Kraken, like Philip Grubauer did, Darcy Kemper would be putting up the same numbers Philip Grubauer is. Like, he's that same caliber, and he's around the same age as Grubauer. I think he's even a little bit older than Grubauer.
But if we match the teams head to head, forward group, check mark for the Oilers with McDavid and Draisaitl.
Yeah.
Blue line, I think you check mark that for the Oilers as well. You think,
Sure.
well, let's see what they add at the deadline. But then between the pipes, would you not give the check mark to Kemper?
No.
No? He's having a great season, man.
That's nice. Well, in 25 games,
his numbers destroy Stuart Skinner's right now, Tommy, and he's won a Stanley Cup. I mean,
yeah, but Stu didn't have a great start. His numbers were bad. I think he just got.
They've been better lately. Fair enough. I mean, fair point there.
I'd rather see someone on the rise closer to the playoffs and Stanley Cup finals, as opposed to someone who had a great start and maybe kind of sustained it. I want to you hear about teams peaking at the right time. I'd rather have someone on the up and up with their performance and their play. There's something to be said about momentum and building confidence as opposed to just kind of being even keel.
Yeah,
which is still fine.
That's an interesting debate.
Like, Stu Skinner had a turbulent playoffs last year.
He did. They still went to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, and he absolutely stole a game against the Dallas Stars.
Yes. There's no, clear path to a cup. The Oilers shelled Bobrovsky for crying out loud in the final, and then he was, Conn Smythe worthy at times.
So Kemper last year with Washington, not good.
Right.
The year before that with Washington, 909. The year he was with Colorado when they won it, he had a 921, and then this year he's got a 921. So, behind good teams, if you're rolling out a 921, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, well, if Skinner builds his game up in this half of the season, and he even gets to a 9-10, I think you're liking your chances.
So you'd say it'd be a split between the net. You would just say it's even in there. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, we'll see. Did we confirm, is Kemper starting tonight?
I'm pretty sure he is.
He's got 2 regulation losses on the season, but 5 in overtime or shootout. So that'll be, I guess we'll get our answer. I did say this morning on our show that I'm predicting Stuart Skinner to be one of the 3 stars tonight. So we'll see. Do you think this ends up being a low score? Like, the Kings play low-scoring games.
They do.
Do you think this ends up being a low-scoring game? At Cool Bet, the total was 5.5. The Oilers are never in games where the total is 5.5. Like, the Kings play low-scoring games. We know, the Oilers are capable of grinding those games out as well. Do you think that's the type of game we get tonight, or do you think it opens up a little bit?
I think it's going to open up because the Oilers defensively have been a little bit loose, and it's going to force them to wheel and deal a little bit more, and that, I think, is going to create. I take the over. That's me personally.
You take the over 5.5 tonight?
Yeah. I think this is going to be a higher scoring game.
What was Huss was saying, the Los Angeles Winnipeg game, and Winnipeg top line scores a ton of goals, but he said the shots in that game were 23-19 between the two. Yeah, there was no scoring opportunities essentially in that hockey game. Big Uke saying he sees a 3-2, 3-1. Matt Hyman says, does LA have stronger structure? Look, we haven't seen the Kings. I haven't watched the Kings much this year. I'm very interested to see what they bring to the table tonight.
Bobby LaFrench hitting me with a definition for vital. Tommy, I think vital means necessary, absolutely necessary or important, essential. Secrecy is of vital importance. Thank you, Bobby LaFrench.
Well, I can see why he said that, though. Because I think he said it's vital, but it's not necessary, which is it's kind of funny. But it's funny how Bobby LaFrench is calling people out on their English. That's what I find. That's what I find very
Isn't it
intriguing.
ironic? Yeah, well played, Bobby LaFrench.
Statue Boss Production says, guys, Kings have been in town longer than the Oil, have they not? It's fatigue an issue tonight.
They got in. Yeah, I guess it would have been a matter of hours, but because they were in Calgary on Saturday.
It would have been close. Yeah. Mm-hmm. This text is in. It says, guys, it would be huge not having to play both LA and Vegas and be impactful in the later rounds for the Oil if they could avoid a crash and bang series against both of those teams.
I would say that could be vital.
What a world we'd be living in if we get McDavid, McKinnon, Makar, Draisaitl, Rantanen, and Hyman all in the first round of the NHL playoffs, man. That's like seeing the Ravens and the Bills have to play in the second round of the NFL playoffs. It just seems unfair. Two very, very, very good teams. Tommy, what time you get rolling with pregame tonight, and who do you have riding shotgun with you?
6:30, we get going. GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Myself, Hernan, and Matt Cassian. And we'll be joined by our LA Kings insider, Dennis Bernstein. DB, he had to fly back to LA. He was at the CCM event in Montreal. The wildfires obviously affecting, talking to the Kings people today. They said it's unbelievable in the worst way. Everything that's gone on there, the devastation. So DB had to go back. He's in Encino. So it kind of close, but not to the point where there was an evacuation order. But PJ, his wife, took the dogs and got out of there just to play it safe. But they're back now, and the winds have shifted, and the weather's gotten better, and the fire crews are taking care of business now.
So it's a scary time when you can only go back to your home when the winds have shifted. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's tough. I know the LA basketball teams are going to finally get back to playing here again tonight as well, and then obviously all the post game coverage tonight. After a huge game between the Oilers and Kings right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. No reason to go anywhere else. We got you covered all day. EST Afternoons is coming up with Hernan Salas and Joaquin Gage. That'll be followed by the Reed Wilkins Show with Reed Wilkins and the glue guy, Jay Milne. He's all fired up with his Commanders finally getting a playoff victory last night. They'll be live from 3 to 6 leading up to all of the coverage of the Oilers pregame against the Los Angeles Kings. That's going to do it for the Oil Stream today. Brought to you by our great partners at Boston Pizza. Make plans to join us Westmount BP's on Friday with myself and Tommy and you joining us for lunch. I'll talk to you tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. on The Nielson Show.